Hi everybody, let's work on a problem together since we are getting into the meat of managerial accounting. Very exciting. So let's do problem 17.4b together on page 798. So here we have an electronics company that uses job order costing, and we need to, looks like they use predetermined overhead rates. So we'll need to figure those out, and we apply it on the basis of machine hours in one department and direct labor hours in another. So those are our cost drivers. So at the beginning of the current year, we have budget estimates for those numbers. And we are looking at a particular job number 652, which was composed of producing 1,000 circuit boards. So we'll have costs for each of those departments. And now we can, looks like we have enough information to get started. So let's do that. So first we need to determine the overhead rate that should be used for both Department A and B in applying overhead costs to job number 652. So we know that manufacturing overhead total in Department A was $810,000. So we'll start there. And then we need the total number of machine hours in Department A, since that's the cost driver. So 16,200 is our total. So we know the total overhead. And so all we're going to do is divide total overhead costs divided by total number of machine hours, which gives us a cost of $50 per machine hour. So we're going to do the same thing for Department B. So we go look, and they had total overhead of $620,000. And then their cost drivers, direct labor hours. So we need to go see how many they had. They had 24,800. So we're just going to divide total overhead costs divided by total direct labor hours, which gives us a cost of $25 per direct labor hour. All right, so now we know what our budgeted number was. So now we can move on to our actual costs. So first off, for figuring out for job number 652, we need to have a unit cost. Once we figure that out, we need total cost and then a unit cost for the product manufactured on the product for the total order. So first off, we need to look at direct materials. So this group is for job 652. These would have been our actual numbers. So for Department A, we had cost of materials of $19,000. So let's plug that in. Department B had material costs of $1,750. So if we total those up, we had $20,750. So now we need to do the same thing for direct labor. Our actual cost for direct labor in Department A was $1,500. And in Department B was $750. So that means our total direct labor costs was $1,500 plus $750. So for a total of $2,250. So now we need to go figure out what our actual machine hours were. So since that's our cost driver, so we're in Department A, we're going to look there first. So we had 180 machine hours. Now we want to know what we should have budgeted. So we're going to go look at that predetermined overhead rate, which we figured out was $50 per machine hour. And then we're going to just multiply those two. So 180 hours times our predetermined overhead rate of $50 per machine hour is a total of $9,000. So now for Department B, direct labor hours is a cost driver. So let's go look. We had 40 direct labor hours for job number 652. And our predetermined overhead rate was $25. So again, all we're going to do is multiply our total number of direct labor hours times our predetermined overhead rate, which was $1,000. So now we have our direct materials costs, our direct labor costs, and we have all of our overhead figured out. So now we can just sum everything up. And we had total cost for job number 652 of $33,000. So we know that job number 652 had 1,000 units in it. So that means our total cost divided by our total number of units gives us a $33 per unit cost. So hopefully that is easy enough. So now let's go back to the problem. Part C says we need to prepare the journal entries required to record the sale on account of all 1,000 circuit boards to our client named Computex Computers. Total sales price was $50,000. So we know that this was on account so therefore it was accounts receivable. And this was a sale, so we have some revenues to record. So now we've sold stuff. So we have sold 1,000 units to Computex Computers. So now we've sold stuff, we need to record cost of goods sold, don't we? So let's go ahead and do that. Now, how much was it? We've already figured that out, 33 grand. So we sold all of those units to Computex. We've sold those goods. So now we need to take them out of inventory. So we don't have them anymore. And we'll go ahead and record which job those came out of. Okay. So there's our journal entries. All right, so now we're going to compare actual to our estimated and figure out if we have over or under applied overhead. So our actual overhead for the year, go back, and we are to assume that actual overhead costs for the year were $800,000 in Department A and $615,000 in Department B. Let's go ahead and record those. So $800,000 in Department A and $615,000 in Department B. So now what we care about is our actual direct labor hours and our actual machine hours. So actual machine hours in Department A were 16,500. And we know that that rate should have been applied at $50 an hour. So multiplying those two, our budgeted overhead was $825,000. So that means in Department A, we over applied overhead in the amount of 25 grand. So our actual overhead was 800,000. Our budgeted was 825. So that means we were actually 25 under. Okay. So now let's do the same for Department B. So we know Department B had 40 direct labor hours, or 24,000. I'm sorry, looked at the wrong one. So 24,000 during the year. And we had a rate of $25 per hour there. So for here, we had 24,000 times that $25, and we had $600,000 budgeted for overhead in Department B. So that means we had $15,000 in under applied overhead in Department B. So that's something we obviously, since we have both over and under applied overhead, we need to look at both those departments and see what's going on there, and figure out if we need to do some repricing, figure out why our numbers were off in both of those, even though we'd rather be under budget than over budget, as we were here. Okay. So that is problem 17.4b. If you have any issues on understanding, don't hesitate to give me a shout. I'm happy to help you at any time. So hopefully this clarified issues in the chapter, and I will talk to you again soon.